Good afternoon,
Afternoon.
and Kalidas. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon on a very busy day to join and sharing your wisdom to our audience around the world. And on behalf of the listeners, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure,
Yeah.
and I would say I may not have the wisdom that you are looking for, but certainly enjoy talking to you.
Wow, wow. Thank you. If you say that you not exactly have the wisdom, and you are always on my top 10 people I want to talk in this country,
I'm
and we've been
honored.
having conversation, and all over the text message we met last time, introducing the technology that can add on to your business, and from time to time I always send text message to you, and you always send kind text message back to me, right? And so this conversation I really want to bring your stories, the journey to growing, and the lessons that you can share to our audience. And thank you so much for doing that. And you've been to Vietnam for a long time. You become a Vietnamese, more Vietnamese than me, I think. So, and you know that our culture, right, is very honor for the audience, for the people who listening to this conversation to know a little bit about who you are. So, would you please do that honor to share with us, share with the audience who Kalidas is, please?
I'm still trying to discover myself, but still, what is official is that, I'm an Indian born in the eastern part of India. I did my schooling and my engineering in mechanical engineering in the same hometown called Kolkata, which is also famous as Mother Teresa's city. So that's
Ah,
the city where Mother Teresa had the city which she had adopted to, bring her
wow.
charity to the poor people. Then I went for a management degree, an MBA, and then I joined a large global bank
Ah,
straight out of campus. I spent 12 years with them in India,
mm,
and then I moved first to Singapore and then to Philippines to manage their business. So I was lucky because I was given a charge to run a business at a fairly early age.
mm,
That had its challenges because I was obviously very raw, but I tried my best to live up to the expectations,
wow.
and I think the experience was quite good. So that when another large business group, banking and finance group, got their license to set up a consumer finance business in Vietnam,
Ah,
they had made the offer, and here I am, almost 19 years later,
19
still
years
in
later.
still in this country.
Wow.
Very good experience of coming here. At that time, Vietnam was obviously what I would consider its most exciting phase of development.
Mm,
There is still huge buzz all around, but now Vietnam is, of course, a very successful country, and a lot of development have already happened. But that those were the days when the excitement was there. People
mm,
were so excited about the potential, and I really caught on to it. I still feel that even today in Vietnam, and that's one of the reasons why we have stayed back. I've changed 3 jobs here. I mean, I came with a job and then changed 2 more, and now, even though I am doing a project or setting up a bank in Philippines, I still continue to be in Vietnam because somehow me and my family can't leave this place.
wow. Last week we celebrate the International Women's Day, and I used one of our interview the week before with a lady also was born from Calcutta. Her name is Pinky Lailani. She's very famous in the UK. She came to the UK in the age of 24, and later on got recognized by the Queen for her contribution to the advocacy of women around the world. Got recognized to the level of CBE and DL, so it's like and just less than sir level, but eventually you'll get there. And within a week time I have two amazing people from the same city,
Yeah.
and joining. So there must be something meaningful there, to us. So you travel the world, and this is today I understand that your background is not on the banking, it's on the electrical engineering.
Mechanical engineering, but that was by education, really not
Ah,
by training. I
ah,
did get a chance to work one of the most famous engineering firms. In fact, it's actually a Scandinavian firm called Larsen and Toubro. I had a chance to work there, and I was quite excited because it is, it was a dream for every mechanical engineer to. It was one of the top 3 firms you could gain, and from my institute, I was, I think, one of the 2 people who were given that chance.
Wow.
But somehow at that time, my impression was that it's too early for me to do a job. I must learn a little bit more. And I actually wanted to learn about production management, about operations management, because I never thought that I will not be an engineer. I just wanted to be a better engineer. But when I went to the MBA school, and areas other than engineering or production, areas of banking, finance, even to a certain extent, consumer goods, all of these, experience, all of this knowledge exposure increased over a period of time. And then I got an offer from the same bank that I had joined later, an offer to do a summer training, and summer training and an internship, what you normally call as an internship.
Yeah.
And that experience was so exciting that I forgot all about engineering and decided to be a banker. And of course, in those days in MBA school, consulting and banking were 2 areas where you were which were supposed to be very lucrative materially, along with the glamour of the job and things like that. So maybe I fell for it and then chose banking as a career and never worked as an engineer.
You mentioned about the word dream earlier. Okay, so you joined a company, and it's one of the dream companies for many engineers, right? You worked there, and then you had the chance to join another bank, and then you found another thing that new, another idea for you to accelerate your curiosity, right? Let me bring you back into when you were little. Okay, so when I was little, I grew up in Da Nang city. Back then, 40-something years ago, that was small, poor. I was born in the very poor family. Even within my family, my parents raised pigs and chicken, and so that we can have some food, and like try to raise the standard of living for the family. So one night we had electricity. The next night we did not have electricity at all. So I looked out into the darkness, and my first dream about the future I want to do is I want to be an astronaut. And life took me to a very different direction, right? So for you, for that many young years in Calcutta, so what was your first dream about the work that you are going to do when you're growing up?
So we were a family. I guess many of our immediate society where I come from are very, they put education at the top of everything else. So even if they don't have like proper food, they would buy a newspaper, they would buy the books for education. So education is given a lot of priority. Knowledge about the world is seen to be something to be acquired. So we were very conscious about what's happening around the world. I still remember in our living room having discussions about Nixon's exit and in those days American presidency, or the Arab-Israeli war and things like that in those days, early 70s. So we were very aware, and my initial thought was that I would become somebody who would work in the United Nations or in in world bodies where you can make a change to the world.
Wow.
And that was a very I think a child's dream of being someone in future to be able to change the course of the world. But of course, I mean, those don't happen like that, right? So when I started to form an idea about my profession, I wanted to be a doctor. I really studied very hard to be a doctor and be very successful in our exam. Now in India, one thing which happens is your entrance exams to professional courses are very competitive because there's so many people. And if you want to be educated in a government college, which is always better in standard, at least in my time, which is like 30, 35, nearly 40 years before now, 40 years ago, you had to go into a government college to really get the good quality education, and it was also very economical. You could afford it. I mean, people coming from middle class or lower middle class. Yeah. So I had to go for a medical. So you had to score well in an entrance exam. So I really studied hard. I came in top 20 among maybe, I don't know, in that year maybe about 4-5 million people might have applied for the position, for the entrance, for the courses. But
5
then
million people.
almost, yeah.
Wow.
So when I actually walked into the #1 medical college in our region, all the films I had seen about the operating room and the surgery and the sophistication vanished, because this was not anywhere close to this, right? I mean, this was very chaotic, not so glamorous, and it looked like it's going to be a very long, arduous path. It's like 5.5 years of course, and then you have to be the house surgeon, the intern, then you have to serve because you have studied in a government college, either you pay a bond or you serve in a primary health center. And so it looked like that I have to study for next like 10 or 12 years. And that was the end of my dream of being a doctor. I kind of scooted out of the college, met a friend of mine who was also wanted to be a doctor and had secured a rank. Two of us kind of conferred on the tea stall next to the college and said, look, this doesn't look like our. Fortunately, I also had a rank in the engineering college. So I kind of,
so you applied for both at the same time.
Two of us caught a bus and we went to the engineering college and took entrance.
Wow.
And that was how my, dreams of being a doctor were extinguished pretty early, and went to engineering. And then, as you know, 4 years later, when I passed out, I got a chance in this engineering firm to work for. But then the lure of MBA and then the lure of banking caught me over, and then finally I turned out to be a banker.
So when you talk about having a dream of changing the course of the world, right, and wanted to become a doctor, so where did that come in from the family? Was there someone that role model you to to have the love for other people, want to change, helping people, or want to become a doctor, or it's just like something along the way that you develop yourself?
No, I think it is seen to be a very noble profession even today. I mean, maybe when you come across not so noble acts by the medical professionals, you have a different opinion. But from a distance, it's still considered to be a very noble profession, at least in my society. And everywhere it is quite noble. And we did not have any doctor, and that was one of the reasons in our family. And since the time that I left and I didn't become one, there have been a long line of doctors that have come in the family, so it is not such a novel thing in our family anymore. Couple of my cousin brothers, sisters, I think there are like more doctors than we need in our family now. So
beautiful. But you're the first one who
who almost entered.
Yeah, almost entered. So take me to the summer. Is it the MBA or the summer internship first?
No, the MBA I entered, and then second year, between first and second year, we had the internship for 2 months.
So for what the MBA or the internship that leading you to have the idea that, hey, I'm gonna leave the technical and the engineering world and maybe get into the finance world?
Yeah, it happened around that. Even at the end of the first year, I took up my internship as just another internship. And internship in production and operations were not so easy to come by. And the ones which are really worth, like, in those days, there was a Mercedes firm, Mercedes manufacturing firm in our vicinity, and there were a couple of other steel plants and all where it made sense, where you could really learn production. There were very few. And I didn't get an opportunity. So automatically I was drawn towards this internship. And the internship really changed my view. And even before, probably I made a conscious decision, probably subliminally at the back of my mind, I had already started forming an idea to change. So when in about 3 months after the internship got over, the bank I was doing the internship with came back with what they used to call a pre-placement offer, like even before you appear for interviews. At that time, I was also coming from a family where a job is valued quite highly because it's income, and I was not in a position to take a risk. So part of it was also not to take a risk, to accept. And of course, once you accept, you're out of the placement process because you've already accepted. So that's how I kind of took the decision and went in that line. And I've never regretted it for even a moment. I think it's been an exciting ride for me. I mean, I've been to countries, visited countries, stayed in countries, worked for organizations, met people from various societies, ethnicity, cultural background, and it's been an exciting journey for me. So no regrets about it.
I see no regret at all when you talk about moving the lure of that industry, man. I see the shining on your face. So it's like 30 years ago, but you still remember it very vividly in
Yeah,
your
yeah,
eyes, right? Bring me to that moment that you decide to take that position, because that is something that set the course for that the next 30 something years up until today for you, right? So that is when you enter into a new nest again.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So I think this was completely a new experience for me. I think
yeah.
the internship was part of launching what would then be the first credit card in India. And it was in the process of getting launched, and I was assigned to set up one distribution channel for cross-selling to applicants for another product for the bank. So, and it was a field job interviewing customers. So first time I met so many customers in so few days, right? I mean, I was meeting like 15, 20 people, new people a day. And not just those people, but their family members, their office colleagues, etc., etc. So it was a really good, strong people interaction project. And when I saw what I was contributing towards in building a business, and I must say, my guides, my seniors in the company, they were also quite active in explaining as to what are the long term implications or what are the business implications of what I was doing. So not merely assigning a task to be done, but also explaining the relevance and the significance of that task. So as it was, I think the fondness grew over time. It was not one particular moment. It was having understanding what I'm trying to do, how it contributes, the regular day-to-day activities in doing so, meeting people, explaining, product features and talking about financial product, starting to understand how it works, reading literature. So it was over a period of time that I grew fondness for what I was doing. And then when finally the offer came to do it for a longer period as a job, there was automatically an acceptance at the back of the mind, which I guess led me to a very quick acceptance and seal the deal for. And that also gave me a peaceful time to spend and enjoy my last few months, the last semester, because maybe unlike the majority of the others, I did not have the pressure of trying to find a job on my head, right? So there were many lures which I think led me to decide that I should take it up. And then, as I said, I mean, when I joined, there were no disappointments along the way. That okay, I thought it would be like this, but it turned out to be like this. So, it just built on one after the other.
So when you accepting that permanent job, have you ever thought that one day you're gonna travel the world, be in the leadership role, managing not only one country but many regions, and do so many amazing things in your work?
So in an organization like the one that I joined, you start getting literature where you're, the ultimate super boss, like the president of the company, who's sitting like, thousands of miles away. Even his talks, his life, his thoughts are also percolated down to you in the form of formal communication booklets. So it may not be very close, but you are aware that what does it hold? What does this organization hold if you want to reach the top? Right, so you get exposed, or at least you start forming some idea, because those guys come. I mean, the very senior people would come to visit a market like one of the overseas markets like India, and then you meet them once in a while. As a junior guy, you get an opportunity to spend maybe just 1 minute, maybe that morning coffee, or share a ride when you are bringing them from the airport, and those are very good practices. I think all these companies have good practices to give small exposures to very senior people, and just to give an idea as to what it holds in future as a prospects as a career. And that kind of always inspired or put the aspiration in one to grow. And that's how we stay back despite the work pressure, despite maybe not so attractive, or even the temptation of attractive compensation outside. You continue to stay and build your career because you always have that idea in your mind that this can actually one day be very big.
Wow.
Right? So I would say that it's not like one would have a very chartered course of how this career would progress, but you would have an amorphous idea that this can be something very big.
Okay.
And since I was working for a global organization, I always knew that some opportunity would come someday. And we would also see our colleagues at various stages of their career getting opportunities to not just travel abroad. Travel abroad, I guess, was would happen in any case over time, but even to work abroad, not to settle, but at least to live abroad on work for an extended period of time in various new markets. I mean, I had friends who were going to in those days Indonesia. I mean, I had at least only heard about it in a geography map. I've never been to Indonesia, never know how that is, but my own dorm mate, my flatmate, a colleague went to Indonesia. He's still in Indonesia.
Still now.
And I think he spent he became a treasury head. I think he must have spent he now works for a local bank. He must have spent about now almost 30 years there.
Wow.
Almost 30. Yeah. So exciting stuff.
Wow.
And people going to Japan and going to Latin America and places I had only heard of. So yeah. So we always had an idea there would be opportunities, but when and how, that it was never very certain.
That young Kalidas back then, in a global organization, right? Having an idea, knowing an idea that there's a potential of growth for himself there. But you don't know when it's going to come, who's going to get it, whether it's going to come to you or it's going to come to your, teammates or somebody else, right? So what did you do every day to make yourself leading to that opportunity?
Very exciting stuff. And never was there a single boring day in our life.
I bet, I'm sure.
And the good thing about these organizations are that they rotate you pretty frequently. So I started with an operation, back-end operations, data crunching kind of job. These days, I guess you don't need those jobs at all because everything is automated. Long back, even before Gen AI came. So I started doing that. Then I moved into front end, credit operations. Then moved into sales for mortgage products like housing loans and all that. Then started a company for doing credit services as one of the first, initial 3 or 4 members who went out and built it. So every 1.5, 2 years, there was a change of responsibility. And during those 2 years when I was working, it was always in a construction phase and building new things. And India has been growing for the last almost 30, 40 years now, right? Since the starting. Actually, the economic liberalization of India happened at the time I joined. It happened in 91, I joined in 92. I started working. So it was a very exciting time. Just like when I came to Vietnam, 2006 was the beginning of the growth of Vietnam. And when I started working, it was probably the new era of economic prosperity in India. So every day there were new things. Every day there were new projects, and you hardly had the time to think about what happens even next year. You were so engrossed in what you are doing now and the excitement that you kept carrying on. And then one day when the opportunity comes, of course, you'll have to grab it. But that's about newness. I think for me as a banking professional, the first image that newness, or the first thought that newness brings is about risk. And for me, newness will always be about excitement, but you should consider the excitement only when you are certain about the risk. That is my view.
More to me, please.
So, like for example, when I was 17 years in this big banking group, I knew everybody around, exciting colleagues, and I was in the Philippines, and we had new plans. We had just acquired a small bank over there. Actually, it was a small bank in balance sheet size, but it was very large in distribution. So a large foreign bank having now a distribution which it never had was a very exciting prospect. And I was one of the key people to, because I was managing the asset side, which was the one of the key components of the strategy for which this bank was acquired.
Ah.
So, for me, it was an exciting time. But then when this opportunity came to move to Vietnam, I still remember my HR manager, regional HR manager, telling me that, look, in any new offer, there are 3 to 4 risks. The company, the assignment, which is the job that you are doing, the compensation, and in your case, the country, right?
Wow.
Now, when I look at this, when I did the decision for Vietnam, on all these 4 aspects, it was a significantly risky proposition. It was the first business, it was a new market. Vietnam was growing at that time.
Wow.
So not many people, not many, I must say that the compensation was okay, but it was not probably the key factor. The company, the company I went to work for, this was the first business of this type. It was a global company, very established, very, old time company, which had a long history and track record, good track record. But this was the first business of its type it was attempting, including its home country, right?
Including
in
the
their
home.
parent country. Yeah,
Wow.
that's right. And then, of course, the assignment, which was starting a new business in a market where this would be the first foreign-owned company of its type, even in Vietnam. So when you consider all those factors, on a risk parameter, if you go logically, you'd probably never take it. But that's when the how you handle newness comes into picture.
Wow.
And I felt that yes, all of them are risks are there, but the return or the excitement of this new offer far outstrips the risks which are there, and it is probably worth taking up. So I said, next day I went back to my HR manager and said, yes, I've gone through all of this and I still think I'll go for what my decision is.
Wow.
And again, I must say that when I look at the key decisions, I'm very fortunate not to have regretted almost any of them. And this was again this in fact I think is by far among the top most rewarding decisions I have taken to move to Vietnam at that stage.
Wow. 2006.
2006 December, so maybe 2007 January.
Okay. So when you think of newness, first you think of risk, but you also think about more is on the excitement of that. Where is that, like mindset coming from? Inside of you? Is it coming from the family, the tradition that you're growing up? Or is that something that along the, growing up journey that you have, you build that capacity for yourself to see opportunities, see possibilities, versus, instead of focusing on the risk side of it?
I think it's very innate to you. I don't think, I'm not sure if it is genetic or hereditary in any way of how you deal with situations like this. There may be, but not something that I'm fully aware of. For me, I've always found excitement in doing something new. So in my life, I've started almost, I would say, this current digital bank that I'm associated with, or we have started, I started with a co-founder, an ex-colleague of mine. This will be my, my 7th startup.
Wow.
So even my first assignment in the big, large global bank was actually to start a new company. It may not be a conventional startup because it was part of a parent group, but it was still a startup as far as that vehicle is concerned. It was an independent company delivering a very different type of service which this bank did not have in its view. So, and I think in many ways, my positive experiences have reinforced my line of thinking. So yes, the first decision might have been out of sheer adventurism, but when that turns out well, you take the next one, and if that turns out well, you take the next one, and then you grow in confidence to take up new challenges, new assignments. You develop the capability to face newness with more confidence, and then that I think happened for me. Otherwise, I don't think. Even investing a substantial part of my savings in a new digital bank in a country which is not my home country, in a country where I spent just about 3.5, nearly 4 years, that is Philippines, would not have happened if I had not had that confidence. So, or that, I would say, that bent of mind.
So
more
the
than
confidence coming through the experience.
Through the experience,
you gain.
For me, at least, that's how it's worked out.
And one part of the story that you share, you mentioned a lot about your friends. Friends that very interesting from you who went to the Indonesia for like 30 years, right? You move into a different country and do different things. So I think that you've been acquainted with friends very unique at a very early age of your life also. And I think because of that is also set course for you to build network differently, to build relationship in a different way. And now look at you, you have network everywhere in the world. So when you look at newness and the ability to expand your networking or relationship that can help you to grow internally and externally, what did you do?
Well, I think being fortunate that I moved so many countries, and I won't say so many, but at least more than what I would have thought when I started, and had so many assignments. And some of them, like my last assignment in Vietnam, was a very large company spread across all over Vietnam. More than, at one time we had more than 20,000 employees, more than 10, 15,000 associated staff. So when you have such a large network, you obviously come in contact with so many people, and that automatically builds your network as part of your professional existence. And even on the social side, I guess I'm not that active, but at the end of the day, you have your own small community. But on the professional side, I've been lucky that my assignments have given me the opportunity to interact, build network with a lot of people, with a huge variety of people. And somehow, my way of working has been able to maintain some contact with them. I do keep going back to them for professional requirements itself, so they probably they are also keen on their side to kind of maintain their contacts with me. So I have actually been fortunate enough to have built what I would say is a reasonable network. I think the potential was to build much larger, but I'm probably not that much of an extrovert, or not that much, I would say, forthcoming in building network very actively. I do not like kind of shun people, but at the same time,
What is that, people?
shun as in not really avoid people, but I'm not the one who'd also go out of my way to approach people, right? I prefer to focus and let it go naturally, focus on my work and do that. So, but it happened that being in touch with so many people, I've been able to probably expand the network quite a lot over the years.
You mentioned about one word is very powerful, and is you focus on your work. And at the beginning, when we did the research, we thought that newness and focus is something that contradicting, because newness is like something that you keep reaching out, looking for opportunity, looking for something. But focus is like you nail on to one thing and you get in there. But the more we do the research, the more we talk to people, newness and focus actually really play well and comprehensible for one another, because when you have something new that you found out is important, and you focus your direction onto that, and then maybe you spend less of your time onto exploring newness. So for you, always have the reservoir, the capacity to experiment something new, and extremely busy, like with your work and different hats that you're wearing every day, right? How can newness and focus place together well to help you in the process of building your new venture, new relationship, new product, new service, new territory?
Yeah, so I think newness and focus probably come in alternating cycles. So you just like you can't remain focused on one thing for the rest of your life, or for a very protracted period of time, prolonged period of time. At the same time, you can't be looking at something new every day, depending on your profession. Like if you're running a restaurant, we all know that the restaurant menus have to change to kind of be relevant or stay relevant, right? But if you were to change your menu every day, then you become like a lunch delivery app, right? You are no longer a gourmet restaurant. So if you're a gourmet restaurant, of course you have to test your new menu very well, and then once you have got the people's acceptance, remain there so that you gain some mind space among your customers. And then maybe once you feel that people are getting too used to what you are serving, and they're probably not seeing the novelty of bringing themselves or their friends and family into that restaurant, then you start thinking about a change and you move into the next cycle.
Yeah.
But it has to alternate. I think in most professions, in most situations, newness and focus will probably have to alternate.
Wow.
And not be present always as a single phenomena.
Totally agree with you. So when at your role, I'm sure you have to deal with a lot of pressure, and I'm trying to understand newness from the angle of stress management pressure to have like young manager, director up until like senior pupil to see how they can learn from that experience that you have, so that they can have a life that maybe more balanced for themselves, or in the way that can help them to deal with pressure in a more positive way.
For me, I think the outlet for stress or boredom in sometimes is basically to probably get to know a new topic. Now a bit balanced between online and physical form in the form of a book, but I've always been a physical book fan. And
Physical
till
book fans, I can tell anyway.
yeah, and till date, given a choice, I would still go for the physical version than online. Lot many people think it's convenient, it's green friendly, it's environment friendly and things like that, but I personally still like the feel of a new book.
Yeah.
And going through it. So and occasionally I do collect writing instruments, fountain pens, but working everyday use fountain pens, not like super expensive mantelpieces, but something which you can still use on a day-to-day basis. And so those are my outlets. So I would research and probably acquire a new pen, and or more easily, more frequently, acquire and buy or whatever, borrow a new book and go through it. That's my resorting to newness for stress relief, I would say.
It's a right relief, right? Every time I ask question, I see you pause for 1 or 2 seconds, then you answer it, and it's very articulate in the way you think, the way you pick words to express your idea and answer the questions very beautifully. So I'm curious to think about how you think, because we've been asking this very same question for almost 1,000, almost 300 people, from top executive to astronaut to NASA scientists to like top researcher around the world, best-selling authors. I'm going to ask you, so how have you been growing your ability to think?
I essentially, my approach has always been to put myself in the position of the audience, or in this case, maybe the person who's asking the question, and try and gauge as to what is the purpose of asking this question, or what is the lookout for somebody to whom I am maybe making a presentation or making a proposal for approval, or for seeking consent or gaining appreciation, or whatever I am trying to do, the purpose from the audience's angle. And that is what I take a little bit of time to understand and probably analyze in my mind to the best of my abilities, not obviously always very successful, but try to figure it out as to how I should answer that question, or how should I deal with this particular situation, even not merely maybe a question. In terms of thinking, it has really changed over time.
Wow.
I guess it has, when I started, it could have been probably more in the form of ad hoc, off the cuff reaction, to maybe more and more putting thoughts behind as my age grew over time, and realized the consequences of not thinking before doing or answering or saying something. And then I guess that has become more or less a habit over time.
Wow.
And the way of looking, approaching problems has also changed over time by facing problems on a day-to-day basis and trying to find solutions.
Wow.
That has also modified. So one of the things which I personally think about always is, before you do something or answer something or act on something, the layers of analysis in terms of what you call that layers of why, trying to figure it out as to what is the best way, and maybe try and understand the audience. In case it is more instructional, trying to make sure that the instructions are clear. If it is more trying to satisfy a curiosity, then maybe trying to figure out what is that curiosity all about, so that you are focused on that. So essentially, again, boiling down to understanding the audience before you do anything or say anything.
Wow. What you just shared is wisdom right there. It's wisdom right there. You're coming from a country, it's very richness in wisdom. And then you travel the world, you bring the philosophy from the east, the west, you met so many people, and you experience newness, along the way. And not only experience it through the reading, the thinking, but also through the doings and those coming back onto you as wisdom. So if you define wisdom to help other people to have the confidence to try newness and stuff in life, how would newness will reach into the wisdom inside of them and help them to blossom like a beautiful tree?
So I think that assimilation of various cultural values is important.
Yeah.
So when I first came out of my own culture, after being born, brought up, completing education, and even completing a little more than a decade of professional work, it was obviously a completely new experience for me. And then, but you have to remember, when I started my work, and just for for letting for the context as well, in India, I mean, when I started my work, I went to a city to work whose language, food, cultural values were as close to me as probably my own culture in Vietnam. So newness has been there for me for a very early stage of my career itself. Even when I went to study and do in a stay in a hostel, there were people from all over the country, and India, as you know, is as varied as variation can or variety can be. So that had started. I had started experiencing the challenge of meeting newness and coping with it, or adjusting to it, accommodating it pretty early. So it so happened that over a period of time, newness stopped being new for me. Right, newness became something which I would expect whenever, because I was ready to move from one country to another, cultural place to another. And so then over a period of time, that started, and seeing the value, like picked up a new language, picked up some customs. Like when we were in the Philippines, I still remember there was this tradition of everybody calling, but at least the seniors calling all the junior members of the team for a Christmas dinner at home. And that sometimes they used to also bring, some of them would bring families, my family would be there. In India, we are not so used to having office colleagues interact with family people.
Really?
So yeah, so at least in my time, you would not come down, and we were in different cities in any case. Like my family was in Calcutta and I was in Mumbai, so you wouldn't have that in any case in the early parts of this. So this was a very new thing to me, that and suddenly you see people with whom you are working day in and day out, facing work pressure, also interacting with your family, your mother, your wife, and all that. So that was something which I picked up, and then after that, wherever I've gone, even in Vietnam, every year, at least once a year, whether it's before Tet or if it's after New Year, before English New Year, Western New Year, or before Tet, I would make sure that we have one family meal, either at home or even if not possible, at least outside with my office, and at least the close colleagues and immediate colleagues and my family. So that's, and you could see that really brings some connection, because your colleagues start seeing you as a person, and start getting some ideas as to who you are when they see your family, right? So, and how you interact with them.
Wow. Next time invite me, my family too.
Sure.
I want to bring you to one moment in your life, which is the moment that you got into the hospital. What time is it now?
It's around 3:45, so maybe another 7 minutes.
Yeah, 5-7 minutes. So we wrap up this conversation beautifully already. So you went into the hospital operation, and you came out that one knowing that it's not going to be something that you're going to spend the next decades of your life working on, but you spend a lot of years working on, like the math, the science, the biology, and compete with everyone around the country to becoming that top, people to get into that role, right? And now, at that moment, you had a lot of thinking in your head. You have a lot of feelings. You had a lot of confusion also. Let's travel time. Let's you now, me now, travel to meet that young Kalidas. And if you can have a word, a message to share to him about his future, so what is that you're gonna give him?
I would say do what you feel like to the best of your analysis. Do not uh, do not be in a position to regret of not having done something which you could have done just because you were too afraid to do. So taking risk is part of life and is an essential part to face newness and to make sure that you realize the true potential of who you are.
Wow. The next message. I think if you have a message you want to send to your children, and you wanna give the message as a father, as a leader, as a whatever, that you wanna give a message to your children for them to have the confidence to go that path in the future. So what is that you're gonna tell to your children now?
Almost similar. That
Similar.
do not be afraid of your choices and choose what your mind tells you to do. So ultimately it is your mental satisfaction, your satisfaction with what you are doing, which matters the most than the money you earn or the recognition you get. At the end of the day, you have to go home and go to your bed and have a peaceful night of sleep. So do not get over influenced by people around you, but make your own choice and do it fearlessly. And then once you have made it, go for it with your whole heart.
Beautiful. Last question.
Sure.
So is there anything exciting you want to share with us and the audience so we can celebrate with you in advance?
No, I mean, celebration would probably, I mean, nothing in particular, but the project that I had undertaken when I left my last assignment in Vietnam and started building the digital bank, it has, initial periods were quite challenging, building the bank, building the technology, but now it is starting to blossom and it is growing at a pace at which we had not imagined earlier in terms of customers, in terms of its revenue, etc. And suddenly as we start seeing prospects of very strong financial results coming our way, it kind of, we are waiting with bated breath, because that's when all our hard work will bear fruition.
Wow.
And that's when we really want to celebrate, and we are waiting for that day, hopefully maybe within the next few months.
Wow, hopefully this getting sooner also. So Kalidas, thanks a lot for being so generous and kind to join our program, to share your wisdom, a lot of beautiful insights in this conversation. And I learned a lot. I think our audience also learned a lot. I hope you had a good time to reflect the journey that you've been having. And I look forward to, your like dining together with your team, with your family, and hope that Vivian and I will be able to join and celebrate with your beautiful team here also. Okay?
Sure. It's been a pleasure for me. I think we've been waiting to have this conversation for some time.
I know.
And I am really glad that you have liked it. So I hope the wait was worth it. And it was an extremely good experience for me to talk about, after a very long time, about my childhood, youth, and then my early days of my career and down to Vietnam. Yeah. I enjoy being in Vietnam, and anything which is coming out of Vietnam, a wonderful effort like the one you was spending your time on, and to be a part of it, it's a real pleasure and a great fortune. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.